UMPI has the fastest, cheapest college degree probably in the entire world. But recently they've been struggling. Students have been waiting really long to get into the school, sometimes waiting in classes, not getting evaluations back, not even getting some emails back. And this represents a big problem for UMPI, but it unfortunately is actually our fault. And in this video, we're going to explain why. And I want to talk about this with Dr. Lauren Daly, who is our chief advisor here at College Hacked. She has worked with a ton of students who have gone through UMPI, and that's because people tend to really like UMPI.
They love it.
You can graduate super quickly. They take in a lot of transfer credit. It's super, super awesome. And our clients do really, really well.
Yeah, they love it. I've just this past week, I had somebody finish up their degree. So we planned the whole thing. They did all their hacking, and then they got all 10 of their UMPI classes done in one 8-week session. And that's just because UMPI is amazing.
Yeah, and I think this person had taken a total of 5 months to graduate.
Yeah, the whole degree in 5 months.
But recently, things have gotten a little bit worse. Lauren, what have you been seeing?
Oh my goodness, yes. So UMPI is great. They're doing their best, but we've been hearing some pretty consistent complaints from multiple people, which usually means if those people are unrelated, that there's at least some truth to it. Largely that it's very hard to get a hold of people there right now. If you're calling in or you're emailing and you're trying to get some questions answered, it can be very long wait times if you hear back at all, which is unfortunate. We've also heard reports of credit evaluations taking 4 to 6 weeks sometimes, which typically they're done in a few days or a week at most schools. So that's a pretty long wait time, especially if you're someone who's up against a deadline for work or that kind of thing. You don't have that sort of time. And then once you're in classes, lots of reports about certain professors that are really difficult to get your stuff back from in a timely manner. So they're not affirming quickly enough so you can move forward, or they're taking too long to grade, which is prolonging class times. So yeah, a lot of different complaints.
And we've even seen, it's not just clients, we've seen stuff from comments. We had a Luke here say, I try so hard to attend UMPI, but getting a hold of anyone there is an absolute nightmare, and I got ignored for weeks at a time. And that is something that is happening to several people. Salty Forever says, but they are so lame. They're not lame, but they rushed me to get transcripts that they have held on to for 3 weeks, missing the nearest term. So basically this person's semester, they had to wait another 8 weeks for another term because the transfer evaluation was too slow. And stuff like this is obviously really painful and really bad for the student experience. And it means that UMPI, some people are just going to WGU or going to a different school. But we do have to take credit. We have to take responsibility here because the reason this is happening is largely because of us. You're welcome, sarcastically and sincerely, because most people wouldn't know about UMPI if it wasn't for us. But also because so many people know about it, that's why you're experiencing these wait times. Basically, UMPI started out as this teeny, tiny little school in the northeastern tip of Maine. They had 1,500 students in a good year, maybe a little bit more. And a few years ago, one of their faculty, who now I don't think works there anymore, started the Your Pace program. And it was hey, let's make a competency-based program where people pay a subscription and knock out classes as quickly as they can, which is a great idea. And UMPI set that up. They had their transfer policies, and it was just kind of this perfect storm. It was all the ingredients sitting in the pot. And I think a couple of people picked them up, but I don't think anybody has pushed them as much as we have. And it was basically the equivalent of turning on the gas for the soup. And now UMPI is cooking. They are cooking. And we actually got a statement from Executive Director Susan Chang.
She's wonderful.
Who is great. Yeah, we've gotten to talk with her a lot. She's great. And here's what she said. The University of Maine at Presque Isles Your Pace team has experienced a rapidly increasing number of applications and enrollments in recent months and would like to thank all of our students for their understanding as we work to expand our infrastructure accordingly. We are onboarding a new team member, which is great, and are advertising for 3 more positions to help us meet the demand. We are also exploring virtual assistants and other platforms that will allow us to respond to students with greater immediacy. UMPI's Your Pace program is committed to ensuring an excellent experience from start to finish so our students can complete their degrees quickly and affordably and use them to make lasting impacts in their communities.
So much good stuff to cover here. So the first thing I want to say is where she says that they are committed to ensuring an excellent student experience. And I think that's very true. One of my favorite things about the Your Pace program program is how it kind of fixes the things that students usually don't like about WGU. So for example, there's no proctored exams, so you can move about freely with that process, and that scheduling is easier. They do issue you a typical GPA when you graduate, so you're not worried about, talking to grad schools about that if you have the weird WGU situation with GPA. And then finally, the soft submission process. I think it's excellent to allow people to submit what might be their final assignment and get some feedback on that before it gets graded, because not everybody is used to school. Not everybody understands kind of the back and forth and the rhythm of academia. So I think that's just really smart stuff that UMPI has done to really create that excellent student experience. I think they've done a good job of it. And then the other big thing is, of course, that they're hiring, right? Yeah. So whenever you have something take off on you and become really, really exciting and really popular all at once, you're a little bit just strapped to a rocket ship, right? It kind of takes on a life of its own. And so I think that this was not a fault of the school that they ended up in this position, but rather they didn't expect to have so much success so quickly. So this is a good problem, and they're trying to fix it.
Yeah. And I'll say too, another problem they fixed over WGU is they allow international students as well, which is probably where a lot of applications are coming from. Yeah. And they have advising jobs posted, but they also are hiring professors as well. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of changes here probably, and I just see UMPI getting better and better. And honestly, guys, too, I think there's sort of a positive side to this is, like I said, if we were talking about this like going to a club, if you see a club with no line and you see a club with a huge line, what does that tell you? It basically tells you that the club with no line probably sucks and there's no reason to go there. And I say all this as somebody who's never gone clubbing before, so I assume this is how it works. But probably the club with the big line, you're probably, even if you go to the one with the small line, you're probably thinking, man, I wish I could have gone to that other one. So it's just going to be more desirable. And it shows, I think, that if you do decide to apply to UMPI and you're willing to wait a little bit longer, I think it's affirmation that you're making the right choice, basically. So then the big question is, how do we pivot? Because that's what college hackers do. We take the situation as it is, not as we wish it was, and we make it work. So, Lauren, what is our best strategy here? Yeah,
so because you know that there's going to be long wait times, definitely advise you to apply on the early side. So where we would normally say, if you're someone who's coming into the college hacking process with no transfer credit, we would typically say hack 75 credits, then apply to the school that you're going to be attending, and then finish up the other 15 credits, because remember, you can hack 90 at good schools, while you're waiting to be accepted. So that way you're not wasting any time. You're still, finishing up your last classes. In this situation with UMPI, we advise you to do it a little bit differently, where you're applying earlier in the process. And that will mean that you'll have to send another batch of transfer credit, but at least you've paved the way already. You've gotten that initial EDU account because you're, now a prospective student who's looking to get enrolled. So it greases the wheels for you, and it reduces the time that you're just sitting there waiting to get information back from the school.
Yeah, and those evaluations can take a while. So, get the ball rolling in that first evaluation. What would you say? Maybe like after your 60th credit that you've earned? Something like that?
I would say even earlier, honestly, because a lot of people finish Sophia classes so quickly, and that's the majority of what you end up with at UMPI because they're so Sophia friendly. And so I would say if you're somebody who's getting through, even if you're getting through maybe 2 classes a week, I think it's probably better to start around maybe the 30 or 40 credit hour mark. Yeah. Wow. Just to be able to give them ample time. There seems to be waves that are happening too. So sometimes people are getting these evals back in a couple weeks, and sometimes they're up to 6 weeks. So
wow. Yeah. And the nice thing there is, like, you get your foot in the door in the application process, getting enrolled for classes with that first evaluation, and then you can always have that second evaluation happening while you're taking your first term of classes.
Exactly.
And have that come in and fill up at the same time. The other strategy I'll say too is, like, if you find yourself in a class where a professor's not responding quickly to your assignments and giving you the feedback that you need in the turnaround time, which I think is 48 hours with them, then a couple of things that you can do. Number one, be very proactive. Number two, you can be, posting assignments in one professor's class while waiting. Then you go and work on the other professor's class. And number three, I think a lot of people don't realize you can do this, but you can email the professor and be like, hey, any word on this? And if the professor doesn't respond to emails, you can go and find the chair or the director and be like, hey, I haven't heard from this professor in a while. And a lot of times that problem will get fixed real quick.
Yeah, you don't want to be annoying, but at the same time, you are paying the school for a certain service and they are wanting to give you that service. And so we all make mistakes or we all lose track of time sometimes. So a gentle, kind, respectful reminder to your professor that, hey, I submitted this. I was wondering if you had a chance to look it over yet. Never hurts.
Yeah, but we have total confidence, guys, that you can do this. We have total confidence that UMPI is only going to get better. And if you want to learn more about UMPI and exactly what kind of school they are, what they offer, how awesome they are in many, many ways, check out this video playlist right here. It's a free course that we created with nothing but great content on UMPI. It is going to kind of cover our faces a little bit because we don't have a lot of space in the frame right now, but we trust that that's okay. Enjoy. Thanks for watching, and happy hack.